Hey guys, Level Cap here, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Gaming. PUBG won't be getting any more live patches until its 1.0 release at the end of the year. Bluehole made an announcement in a roadmap update for the game this week. The good news is that the test server will still get updates prior to the 1.0 release. These updates will come in 3 phases. The first phase will focus on testing the new vaulting system Bluehole have been working on and should deploy within the next few weeks. The second phase will include further testing of the vaulting system, as well as new content and features. The final phase will include the new content developed prior to 1.0, as well as the desert map. Each phase will be online for 2 to 4 weeks for extensive testing by the community. In its current state, PUBG is still pretty darn unpolished. Outstanding issues like the game's poor audio balance, server selection bug, and overly repetitive vehicle sound effects seem like simple things to fix that would be great quality of life improvements for players. Not having these improvements made prior to the 1.0 launch is unfortunate. That said, I'm sure we'll see plenty of progress, including these improvements, on the test server before the end of the year. Bluehole have been working on optimization and stabilization and plans to talk more about their progress once development is further along. So at the very least, we know real improvements to the frame rate and server performance will be made down the line. Also, leaderboards for the game have finally been reset. Asian and Oceania servers finally have first-person perspective squads matchmaking, and new servers are online for Japanese and Korean players. After over a year, Team Fortress 2 has finally received a major update. Called the Jungle Inferno Update, it includes several pages of tweaks, fixes, new content, and more. The big things to know are 5 new community maps, 1 new official map, 4 new items for Pyro, 36 campaign contracts, and a complete overhaul for the balance of every single class. Fans of the game have been understandably frustrated since Team Fortress 2's previous update, Meet Your Match, launched in July of 2016 and introduced a number of balance and matchmaking issues. Many of those issues haven't been resolved until now. It's still too early to tell if Jungle Inferno is everything Team Fortress 2 players have been waiting for, but so far it seems like a big step in the right direction. In other Valve-related news, the Dust 2 map remake has officially been released. The visual overhaul of CSGO's most iconic map was available on the game's beta branch for the past couple of weeks to iron out bugs and other issues. In addition to the new version of Dust 2, the update also includes new character models for terrorists, brand new jumping sounds for most surfaces, new weapon and grenade pickup sounds, and new bullet impact sounds for vehicles and barrels. With Dust 2's remake finished, Cobblestone and Mirage are the only official maps left to remaster. A Source 2 port of CSGO is likely to be announced next year. Whether or not that will be before the final maps are remade is unclear. The announcement of the Dust 2 remake and Source 2 port were part of an unofficial media event held in the Valve offices earlier this year. Killing Floor 2 has a free Halloween update that adds a new map, new boss, 2 new weapons, new Halloween-themed cosmetic items, and more. It also includes a new daily mission system that rewards players with crates that contain cosmetic items. IGN have acquired an online games retailer, Humble Bundle, a company that is basically known for and built its business on reviewing games, now owns a company that sells games. This seems like a huge conflict of interest. What's more concerning, however, is Humble Bundle recently launched a publishing service. Essentially, this means IGN will be a games publisher. In the past, IGN has made some questionable reviews and has been suspected of selling ad space for games in the form of reviews, but then again, there have been allegations of this for many of the other major review websites out there. What this acquisition will eventually do to Humble Bundle is unclear, but for now, they operate as an independent company with the resources of IGN supporting them. This is a very concerning move for the game review industry in general, and with so many people already suspecting many of these sites of producing biased and paid for reviews, this is just another bad step in that same direction. Activision has patented a way to drive microtransactions with multiplayer matchmaking. Essentially, the patent outlines a system in which players who have not invested in microtransactions, therefore don't have a lot of in-game cosmetic items or things to show off, are actually matchmaked with players who have spent a lot of money and therefore see a lot of this cool cosmetic content, are inspired to therefore invest more of their money and start buying in microtransactions. So if you're the kind of player who, say, buys Call of Duty but then doesn't partake in any of the loot crate system, you're likely going to be matched against people who have partaken in lots of the loot crate stuff. This is a really concerning patent. Aside from the fact that it's being patented at all, the practice of this is crazy, because especially if games like COD and Star Wars Battlefront 2 become pay to win, it means that the people who actually play money are going to get matched against players who have not spent money and are therefore under-equipped. So if you spend money, you're probably going to get like better KDRs and whatnot because of this crazy matchmaking system. This is a very dirty move. The fact that Activision has patented this idea, let alone come up with the idea and implemented it, is really scummy. And perhaps I'm getting ahead of myself as they haven't technically implemented the system yet, but you can bet if they're patenting it now, it is going to be coming in future games. So get ready for some pay-to-win bullshit. EA have closed Visceral Games, the devs behind the Dead Space franchise and Battlefield Hardline. Visceral was developing a new Star Wars single-player game with some employees from Naughty Dog and also Uncharted's creative director. Development of the game will be moved to EA Vancouver and is expected to shift from a single-player experience to something with a multiplayer component. This is pretty disappointing considering that clearly somebody in marketing has crunched some numbers and decided that a single player title is just too risky and not worth the amount of money it costs to make. It's true, single player components for games are generally significantly more expensive than the multiplayer components because you have to develop so many more unique assets. There's voice acting, camera angles, so much more stuff that goes into it, generally speaking, and that can be very expensive. If the single player component just doesn't attract a big enough audience, then you've got a big loss on your hands. So as disappointing as this is, it may have been the right call for EA as a publisher. A new trailer for Star Wars Battlefront 2 has been released, showcasing the upcoming game's single-player campaign. Players assume the role of Eden Versio, leader of the Imperial Star Forces group Inferno Squad. The campaign follows the destruction of the second Death Star and the death of Emperor Palpatine. Also, some single-player gameplay was revealed, showing footage of the first 3 missions. Most of it does look like a linear experience with some space combat mixed in there. It looks pretty decent, and I'm quite excited to learn more about the storyline of what happens after Episode 6. First-person shooter puzzle game The Talos Principle is now available as a standalone VR title. Priced at $40, it includes all of the puzzles and content from the original game, but has been redesigned from the ground up to work with VR. People that own the original game also get a 25% off the VR version. Premium, full-length VR titles are in short supply right now, as the medium is still finding its footing with consumers. So having a game like Talos available as a full-featured VR experience is pretty cool. Finally, in Battlefield 1 news, the upcoming naval-themed Turning Tides DLC was available for limited testing on the CTE. It included untextured versions of the 2 new maps, Cape Hells and Akibaba, 6 new weapons, and an anti-air version of the AT rocket gun. Conquest Assault was playable on the Cape Hells map and will be the new game mode introduced with the Turning Tides DLC. This game mode has appeared in previous Battlefield titles, but was absent from Battlefield 1 on release. It simulates an assault on enemy territory by starting the defenders off with all the flags captured for them. Personally, I think one of the biggest game changers will be the Airburst AT rocket gun. If that actually does decent enough damage to airplanes when it is released, that is going to saturate all the vanilla maps as well. And so infantry are finally going to have a legitimate anti-air weapon available to them. This is bad news for pilots, good news for infantry. However, if this weapon remains stuck behind the DLC paywall, that's going to be really unfortunate for game balance in general, as only premium players or people who bought the DLC will have that anti-air capability. Anyway, that wraps it up for today's episode of This Week in Gaming. Let me know which news blurb you found the most interesting in the comments section. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.